For those of you who don't know, I left Mormonism years ago, and I tried my best to be the perfect ex-Mormon and still followed all the church's rules, was super respectful. Anytime I was invited to something, I went to show that I still supported everybody who was in there. But for years, I took a lot of verbal abuse. I took a lot of harassment from members who were saying horrible, horrible things about me, not because of my character, who I was as a person, or like actual problematic things, but just because I had left. Therefore, I must be someone who just loves sinning, because otherwise I never would have left Mormonism, right? And it got to a point, it accumulated to a point where I eventually had a woman trap me in a room, basically physically block me in a room in the middle of the night and scream at me about leaving the church and trying to get me to come back, and about how I could never basically be a good person if I never came back, and like all this stuff. Really horrible, awful, shitty things that only based all of their criticisms on the fact that I was no longer a member, despite the fact that I was doing everything I possibly could, still followed all the rules. It was not fun. Cue my villain era. That's when I kind of lost it, and I went into my angry ex-Mormon phase. If you are going through an angry deconstruction phase, I just want you to know that it might end one day. And that's like great. I didn't know when I first started going through this angry phase. I started really unpacking everything and all of the crap that I'd been through because of Mormonism. And I was so upset. And I remember thinking, am I ever going to get over this anger I have for the church? Like, it was so overwhelming. And I would sometimes read posts from people who had gotten over that, and it would give me a lot of hope, because I think anger was a super useful emotion, and I'm super glad I went through that phase. But you get to a point where you want to get past that. You want to have energy for other things, right? So I'm there. It took about a year and a half, 2 years of going through that angry phase. Now I only get upset when members come up and like harass me, verbally assault me, and things like that because I left the church, or they send verbally harassing comments void of all critical thinking online. I sometimes still get like a little bit triggered by that, because I'm like, how can you guys be defending this church at this point? It's just, woo! Other than that, and other than when there is, again, more news about the church intentionally supporting child abusers and intentionally not reporting child abuse, those two situations aside, not angry about it anymore. Got past that. And I think within a year or so, when people come up and like in real life and are like really nasty about me not being Mormon anymore, I will just be able to giggle with all of the joy in my heart and tell them to fuck right up.